Hello and welcome to Law and Order SVU here on FANVERSATION. I am Yael Tygiel. That's Taylor Gates. Hello, Taylor.
Hello.
Hello. It is September 3rd, which is 9/3, and we're doing season 9, episode 3.
Shut up. And we didn't even plan that.
Wasn't planned. I realized it when I made the stream.
That's
and I went, oh, shit.
What are the chances? That's amazing.
We don't usually do this well, so very bad chances. What a fun surprise. This is, again, season 9, episode 3, Impulsive. For those who don't know, it's the Melissa Joan Hart episode. So funny.
Hell yeah.
Welcome. Before we jump into this episode, some things to share. Wait till the end of this episode and we'll tell you our schedule for the next bunch of episodes. But if you find yourself in a situation where you need help and you need to reach out to RAINN, their number is 1-800-656-4673. 1-800-656-4673. Taylor, what does that spell?
It spells hope.
It does spell hope. 4673. Yeah, hope with the hands. I love it.
Jazz hands.
If this is your first time enjoying SVU, please consider this your content warning. Sometimes the show deals with serious issues. This episode specifically does tackle quite a few serious issues. I guarantee I will say something offensive or off color or out of pocket, as kids say.
Yeah.
Thank you, Taylor the Kid. I can't wait for you to no longer be a kid and feel what that's like.
When is that going to be for me?
Because
I'm only a full-grown woman. Just so everyone's clear, I'm 27 years of age. I'm not an actual child, and I haven't been for 9 years now, the much better part of a decade. So I feel like as we both get older, I'm just never going to reach that point with you.
You know what, though? In my head, you're 24.
I will always be.
I think you always will be. Okay, so we have some people live in the chat. Alexa's here. Daryl's here. Welcome back, Daryl. It's been a while. Here's the quick cap for Impulsive. Benson and Stabler arrest a high school teacher for having sex with one of her students, but the teacher alleges the student raped her. Before we jump in, one of my biggest notes, and it's in bold, Benson's makeup in this episode is fucking phenomenal.
Her hair, too. I really liked her hair.
She looks so good this whole episode. I was so distracted. I don't think I heard a word she said. She just looked so beautiful.
Fair enough.
I can delete that note. Just had to make sure.
That's the whole notes, actually. You have nothing else to go off of.
Nope. Taylor, what did you think of this episode?
I really like this episode. I think it's a really interesting premise. Very much a twist on he said, she said, and then it gets even more complicated with the defense. And I didn't realize that this was the Casey episode, one of her best, I would say. And you know the quote I'm gonna say when we get to the quote that I just am obsessed with. But Casey's my girl. Listen, I like all the others. Alex, wonderful. Barbara, wonderful. But Casey's my girl. And so when she gets to pop off and show some attitude like this, I really like it. And it was coming from a really interesting, good place, too. So great episode. Really a mixture of wacky, fun lines and legitimately thought-provoking content.
Yeah, this episode I feel like starts with a he said, she said, then turns into a weird abortion discussion, then turns into a sex addiction discussion, and then turns into this treatment facility storyline.
Yeah, lots of twists, but they all make sense. It all flows well, I would say.
It does. I remember it was a he said, she said. I remember that he had a sex addiction. I remembered that that there is a facility where teenage boys with sex problems get assaulted. And I remembered that there was an abortion thing with her. I remembered all the pieces and yet still didn't remember that they were all this one episode.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I always get, and I do know why. It's because like Hilary Duff, Marissa Joan Hart, like sort of exist in a similar realm to me because
Sure.
of like the 90s child star. So I always like think that this one is about measles and vaccines and shit, but they're different. That's the Hilary Duff one.
Yes.
So I need to watch that one and be like, okay, these are separate, but I always blend them together in my head for some reason.
I think it's fair that you blend them. I will just point out, because I know that to you, they're the same generation.
I know that one. I know Hilary Duff is slightly later, but like you have to know that I'm watching stuff on Disney
Yes.
Channel and then ABC Family, which is what Freeform is called. So my childhood encompassed both, though obviously Sabrina the Teenage Witch came before. I know that.
Yes, I'm just saying I love that you
Right.
loop them together when there is like such a glaring age difference.
There definitely is, but like they were such a big part of both in my childhood. One with this, you know.
Sure. So Sabrina the Teenage Witch was like the biggest. It was such an impactful show on my childhood, and then I had almost outgrown by the time Hilary Duff came in. So like, and Alexa in the chat, love it. Doing the right move, Alexa. Clarissa Explains It All ages me.
That was before my time. I was like tail end of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, I would say.
I was definitely tail end of Clarissa. I also don't think I had that channel. Anyway, we're going back to the chat. Alexa says Olivia's hair is always throwing me off this episode. It looked so good. Yeah. She looked great this episode. Daryl says the old episodes had so many more twists than we get now. You know, I think that's true. I think that's totally true. And Alexa says Elliot being the empathetic cop was good too. It's funny that you point that out because there's a moment near the end which reminds us what a bad cop he is when he smacks the guy with the wood.
Yeah, I actually don't agree with that because he was empathetic to the most like stupid person, in my opinion.
The husband.
Yes. What did he go through? Quickly, I'm waiting. Like his wife. Relax.
You make such an excellent point that Stabler would empathize with the straight white man who looked abusive.
Yes.
That's where Stabler's empathy would come in.
Yes, and also, again, I'm sorry, I'm jumping to the end, but whatever.
We're all over.
Husband track when he's like, "Oh, so this kid gets $1 million and my wife gets nothing," and I'm like, there's so much more nuance to that. Also, you wouldn't get shit anyway. It'd be for your wife. So I don't know why you're doing that. You look like a gold digger right now. And I was like, I get it. I understand why he. What the actual fuck? You are like, I don't understand why this guy. I mean, I do understand because he reminds you of yourself, but you have zero empathy for people who've actually been through things. And because this guy's wife doesn't get $1 million, I feel so bad for him. Shut up. I hate it so much.
If anything, Mr. Firefighter, shouldn't you now sue Shane? Like, you guys should now sue. Like, once he gets the $1 million, now sue him and take it.
Exactly.
Idiot.
Was just so controlling. Like, I was really shocked that nothing came out about him being controlling.
When he discovers that she has the abortion and he hits her with the file, and then punches Elliot, I went, so no one's concerned now that he seems to have the amount of aggression that he could actually beat her.
Yes, exactly. I was baffled how they handled that situation, but
let's
surprised.
Let me give some shout outs speaking of these characters. This episode was written by Jonathan Green, directed by David Platt. Here are some shout outs for those who don't know and missed it. Melissa Joan Hart was Mrs. Sarah Trent. Shane Mills was played by Kyle Gallner. He has gone on to do a lot of things. He was in Scream. He looks so different. For those who don't know this about me, when people change their hair, specifically if men get like facial hair, remove facial hair, I struggle to identify them. And so I looked, you know this.
Yes, I do.
You've seen this in person when I see someone and I go, we've never met. So Kyle Gallner, I know this face. I know this episode, that face. I know that face. I saw his, like, I guess current face, which has facial hair, and I'm like, oh, I know this actor. I've seen him in stuff. Would never in a million years put together that it was the same person.
Yael didn't know Carisi was Carisi in not Carisi in a different episode. Because did he have a mustache or not have a mustache or his hair or something?
No, so Carisi's in an old episode where he had long hair
right.
and no facial hair.
Yeah.
Nope. No idea.
It's fine.
It's the only reason I know Novak was from episode in the early seasons is because she was still a redhead.
Yeah.
Had she been blonde in the first episode and then a redhead when she was Casey, I would have never put together that it was her.
I mean, I'm really telling on myself, but like women, I can recognize. Men, just usually never.
That's fair. You're never looking at them.
Exactly the same. Exactly. Why would
I? That's fair. So the husband was played by Quincy Dunn Baker. And then who else did I wanted to give a shout out to? Because I needed to. Okay, so the guy who runs the facility, the very small man, Feldrin, was played by Danny Rutigliano. Sorry for butchering that Italian name. He's so, like, seeing him with Casey is so funny. The height difference is so funny.
Yeah, agreed.
Anyway, those were some shout outs I wanted to give. Let's start with the he said, she said of it all. When it first started, Taylor, who did you believe?
I don't know. I feel like I was really torn because I think they did such a good job of, like, I really liked the directing choice and editing choice of them, like, saying pretty much the same thing. Like, you went forth and they, like, jumped on each other's lines, and it was, like, pretty much everything was adding up with, like, slight tweaks, which I thought was really smart because I did feel it was very balanced. I was like, okay, it would make total sense that, like, he would do this and lie about this because obviously it's going to really look bad for her, especially because she didn't say anything. At the same time, I would understand why she didn't. Like, I just thought it was, like, really well done in that there wasn't a necessarily super obvious choice in this case. I don't know if you felt the same way, but
I agree. I think I love that's why I gave the director a shout out. I love the way that this was shot. This episode, there was a lot of things that I liked the way they did.
Yeah.
This scene specifically, I also was looking at Shane's performance, at Kyle Gallner's, because having seen this episode a million times, knowing that he did it, rewatching it now, seeing his performance when he's sobbing and going over the story in the police station, there's no question in my mind that character believes he was assaulted, which is so interesting because as an actor, my assumption would be that he would play it as, I know that I did this and I'm pretending that I didn't. But the way that you look at it, he, I guess, has convinced himself in this moment. And it was such a great performance.
Agreed.
And also the Melissa Joan Hart's performance was unexpected because so I was like, oh, this was near the tail end of Sabrina, but no, it wasn't. This was years after Sabrina.
Yeah, she's definitely, like, older.
She's older. I mean, yeah, but the college years, she was older playing college, which was worst seasons. Anyway, we could talk about Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and later we will. But it's just, her performance was also incredible because this is a performance you've never seen from this woman.
Yeah.
Her seeing Melissa Joan Hart say sex, saying rape, saying all of these things was shocking to me.
Yeah, it was a really good dramatic performance because she was obviously very, like, felt hurt and violated, and then seeing that there is nuance and, like, showing compassion, I thought was that's really interesting writing and character decision, and I think she really embraced it and played it really well.
Yeah. Let's talk about the abortion situation. First of all, the nurse. I need to give her a shout out because that was the best part.
Yeah, I literally wrote down clinic lady not letting them come in.
I'm going with a receptionist because I don't have any other name on here, so I'm guessing that's who it is. Audrey Amy, I believe, was the actress of that one. She is so good. When she was like, "Nah, you can't come in here."
Yeah,
So great. I loved her performance. Let's uh let's talk about this weird Catholicism situation
yep,
where she had the abortion and then was like, nah, we need the baby to bury it.
yeah.
I think I'm assuming you have the line that
I don't think I
it's between her and her God. No?
Oh no. But I mean,
Right.
yeah, that's the premise.
The line that I have written, which really, I'm not saving it for best lines because it bums me the fuck out, was last I checked, Roe v. Wade hasn't been overturned yet. Bums me the fuck out since.
I wrote that too, not in best lines because it was not the best at all. I just wrote "whelp" after it, and it gave me the same feeling. I watched a movie last year called Call Jane. It has like Elizabeth Banks, Sigourney
Yes.
Weaver, about just for the people at home who might not know, about like in the 60s, women who were trying to like give other women safe abortions and help them with that. And it was really jarring to watch because at the end of that movie, they're like celebrating the fact that Roe v. Wade has been passed and like upheld and all of this stuff. And like they made it like before it was no longer a thing, like after it had like before it had been overturned. And so it's very weird to watch stuff like this because it just leaves you with this like sad feeling.
Yes, because we are currently living in a Roe v. Wadeless time.
Yeah.
Fuck. Fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, this show is pro-abortion. So
Yes.
if that's a problem, feel free to leave.
Log out.
Alexa in the chat says cafeteria Catholic is a real thing. What does that mean?
Okay, well, as someone who grew up Catholic, it's basically when people pick and choose what they want to believe from like the teachings. Like, oh, in this situation, it's like okay, we're gonna allow this but not allow that. It's like kind of being hypocritical.
It's like a what is it, like a Sunday Catholic where like you're only on days when you're at church.
In a way, it's like what are you choosing to believe from this teachings? Yeah, cherry picking. Exactly.
Got it. Thank you, Alexa and Taylor.
Yeah, of course.
For those who don't know, I was raised Jewish.
Yeah.
So where was I? There's a weird moment where Wong produces this idea that that Sarah Trent might have borderline personality disorder.
Yeah, what the hell was that? Because that went nowhere.
Yeah, so I thought about that because I remember when he said it and I went, that's not part of this episode. So he says, and it's like a throwaway line that most of the teachers that have been in the news, turns out that they had borderline personality disorder. And I'm assuming that this episode happened to have been ripped from the headlines of there were a slew, I'm sure it's still happening, but I remember there was a time when there were quite a few of female teachers with male students. And I'm guessing this is tied to that. We're trying to put these things in context. This episode was 2007. So I'm assuming that's where that idea came from, but it literally went nowhere.
Nowhere, yeah.
That said, it does get us to following them.
Yes.
Which could have been done in a different way. Like it could have even been done in like with the photos, which also almost went nowhere in that like it could have been, she emailed the photos and people, and now they're like, well, maybe it was a relationship more than just a one-time thing. Let's follow them, which would have made, I think, more sense.
Yeah.
Right? But instead they went with this, oh, she's obsessed with him. Let's follow them.
Yeah.
Which got us to, I think, one of the more interesting things, which is Shane and all the prostitutes.
Yeah. Also, like, the wig on the person was just, like, the funniest thing ever. Like, that is awful. It's a different hair color. That is not real hair. Like, anyone couldn't see that, okay? That's Party City Halloween store $5 discount the day after the holiday wig. Okay.
I like that she had the scarf rather than like a shirt.
Ridiculous. It was just, it's so bad. It was cracking me up.
I love the collection of prostitutes.
Where are you going, Monique? Where do you think you're going?
I loved all of them there. It was so great. And then Stabler being like, hear what she had to say. And she's like, yeah, I gave him the clap.
I gave him the clap. But I told him to get it checked.
Yeah.
Get himself checked.
And then her, so funny. So good. Alexa in the chat points out you're so right, Alexa. He must have had a really big allowance for all those hookers.
Truly, though.
I think that was also a missing moment, is that like his family's wealthy, right? Like I think that
have to be, yeah.
I mean, if he has an allowance where he can hire this many and at a hotel.
True.
I mean, not a good hotel, but still.
A hotel nonetheless.
So that brings us to this concept of him being a sex addict. Two things. One, all of the testing and whatever that Wong does, whatever, fine. This kid masturbates 5 to 6 times a day.
That's like a lot of time.
I would like
to do anything else.
This is going to be a weird question, and I want people to feel comfortable asking or answering it anonymously, however they like.
Okay.
How many times, at most, does one masturbate per day?
Twice?
Right, at most twice.
Like 2 times is most, probably. Hypothetically.
Right. I'm like trying to think of a day where I've had nothing else to do.
Yeah, twice. I think 3 is like pushing it as a treat. Like if you're really bored, like you could do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know what I mean? But I think twice is like what I would deem not like completely like you don't have time to do anything else.
And I'm thinking like separate sessions.
Of course, yeah, of course.
Right.
You have
We're not counting what you're doing
in a row. Like that's one.
That's one. Yeah. Cool.
You get up and get a snack, go for a walk, go to the bathroom, and then it starts over again.
I appreciate that you and I are on the same page about this.
Of course.
Alexa in the chat says, "Who has the time?"
Like seriously though.
Daryl in the chat says, "Hypothetically twice, because good Lord, how would you get anything else done?" Yeah. 5 to 6, like. That's a lot.
Like, how many hours are you awake a day? Like 14?
Sure.
14, let's say 16 even. That's like once every 2.5 hours.
I appreciate that Wong asks what he does at school.
And
I could imagine, I guess if I were in like school, I could imagine doing it more because like, what else are you going to be? You're leaving class. You know what I mean? Like, what else are you going to be doing?
I would have a lot of trouble like doing that in the public.
We're all into different things.
Good for you if you can, but like, just seems challenging to navigate.
I have like 5 exclamation points on 5 to 6 times a day.
As you should.
Yeah. Wild. So anyway, feel free to let us know hypothetically,
Just hypothetically speaking.
ask your friends. I'd love to know what they say.
Yeah, just open with that. You don't even need pleasantries.
I almost want to like take a weekend off. You know what I mean? And see what's reasonable.
Well, I feel like possible and reasonable are like extremely different things. Reasonable is 2. Possible could be a lot more than 2.
Could be 5 to 6.
I mean, possible, yeah, but that's still not reasonable by any means.
I guess also if you're listening and you happen to have been a teenage boy at any time in your life, I would love to know, as a teenage boy, how is possible.
That's true. That's true. I've only ever been a teenage girly.
Same. Anyway. There's a moment during the trial where Casey asks Shane, did you force Sarah Trent to have sex with you against her will? And he says yes. And in that moment, I was like, case closed. Why do we keep going? And yet the case continued. And then we get to the Photoshopped photos, which again, like, were kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
But Casey points out, so you did this to cover up what you did. And that should have also, like, case closed. It was premeditated.
Right.
We also have the hooker who was like, that he bragged that they practiced. Case closed.
Yeah.
It was premeditated. It wasn't like a impulsive, he had to do it in that moment.
True.
But I think, I mean, the concept of sex addiction I find fascinating.
Yeah.
I know we previously did an episode, I think last episode was about gambling addiction.
Yeah.
And it was suggested that our next theme be alcoholism.
Okay.
It's not the one we're choosing, but
if it's incest September, I swear to God.
You know what I think is so funny is that I suggested that and you have brought it up every week.
It's a funny concept, but I don't want to execute it.
I love that you bring it up. Thank you. So that I don't have to.
It lives on, just not the way that you wanted it to.
You know, this is better.
Okay, good.
Anyway, I find the concept of sex addiction fascinating. And it reminds me of the whole reason I started doing an SVU podcast way back in season 16, which was to have an opportunity to discuss concepts like this in a safe and hilarious place where we could like talk about things like sex addiction, which I think is one of the most misunderstood types of addiction. I guess I would also say like eating addiction is another common misunderstood addiction. And maybe we should do a whole episode where we just talk about sex addiction.
Yeah.
Because I find it fascinating.
Yeah, totally.
I would love to talk to either a doctor or a sex addict.
Yeah, honestly, though. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And there's just not spoken about. It's kind of like I feel how, like, anxiety and depression are becoming like more mainstream to talk about, but there's all these other things that are a lot more like taboo or aren't talked about, whereas like related to this, like alcoholism, drug addiction obviously are a lot more sort of well known and get the attention, but yeah, there are so many other addictions that are just as like serious and important to research that aren't really being talked about at all, which is a shame because everyone could be understood and, you know, be able to have research like put towards it.
I agree. I think it's like sex addiction, interestingly, also female teachers with a like male student. Those are two topics that people like joke about and are like, that's not a real problem. And I think that to have both of these concepts in one episode and not have one person be like, well, she was hot, or you know what I mean? Like, was interesting because there's the episode where it's the Lindsay Lohan / Amanda Bynes episode.
Yeah.
I believe her name was Tinsley Adams, is the fictional character. That episode has a point where she like has sex with a teenage boy, and it's brought up that like his parents are like, good for him or whatever.
Yeah.
It's interesting that that wasn't brought up in this.
I feel like it was for like a really brief moment, right? By like the defense attorney or something, one of the attorneys. I feel like they made one like kind of throwaway comment, but I don't remember the exact comment at this now.
Maybe I missed it.
Yeah, it was really brief, unless I'm like completely imagining it, which could be the case. But I feel like there was one little like jab.
It may have been when her defense attorney was like, it was statutory.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. It was like around that conversation. Let's talk about the treatment facility, which reminds me of, there was like another one. Oh, it's the one where the judge is sending the girl to a place because she gets kickbacks to fill in the beds.
Yes.
That's what it reminds me of. Much later episode.
It reminded me of one of my favorites, Educated Guess, with Natasha Lyonne a little bit too.
Oh, yes.
So good.
Totally. We did talk about that episode. Great episode.
We covered that episode fully.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of my absolute favorites.
It's a great episode. I honestly feel like this treatment center could have been its own episode.
100%. Yeah.
Especially with the way that like these, inmates, I'm calling them, were like handled and treated, and the fact that like they reported it and nobody did anything.
Yeah.
It could have been its own whole episode. And I think that that's a choice to be like, here's this 5-minute section.
Yeah. Agreed.
Especially because we have this super creepy Earl who is pretending to be Pete Lincoln. And then Earl plays the I'm wired bad. Couldn't help myself, just like the kid. I was like, yes. Fucking yes.
That's the last line in this episode too.
Yeah.
That leaves such a like, it's a fuck. Because like, how do you, like, this is real. Like, how do you stop that stuff from like being like twisted in that way?
I agree, especially because you have Wong literally listing like, here are 3 different things I noticed medically that you could then do for this Earl fucker and be like, oh, he also, look, it's the same. You know what I mean? Interesting that is the last line, because I think the first line is in my best lines, which I find so funny. So let's go to best lines so I can give it to us.
Okay, great.
The first line of this episode is, it's not a cult, it's gonorrhea.
Yep. Darn.
I love it. I love it so much. That's so funny. And then the other line that I have is, you, sir, are violating the limit of my patience.
Yep, I have that one too.
All right, Taylor, hit us with the rest of them.
Yeah. It's not a girl, okay? It's a woman. I don't know why it was cracking up so much. Are you crazy? She has a urinary tract infection. Get your ears checked. Just always a classic dig. Delay that last transmission. Elvis has left the building.
Yeah.
I love that Olivia has decided to, maybe I have heard this term, Shane's with the pros. Like, pros? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, we don't call them prostitutes anymore. We call them sex workers.
So a couple of things. This has haunted me since 2007, because I don't think it's ever been said again.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, I'm not crazy. Like, this is not a word that people use.
No, because pro has been used. Pro has been used many a times. Short for professional, short for prostitute. Pro, fine. Hooker, fine.
Yeah. I mean, not fine, but like, yes, we've heard it.
Pross?
Cross.
I want to go to toot.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Okay, I'm glad we're on the same page. I was like, am I nuts or does no one say that?
No one says it, and no one has ever said it again.
Okay,
I
good.
I almost feel like the script said pro, and that's what came out.
Yeah, and they were like, it's fine. Just keep it.
Move on.
Come on. We're not gonna make our day. Yeah. You already said this, but I need to say it again. I gave the kid the clap, but I told him to get himself checked.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I've been sure most of them haven't slept with several dozen hookers. Probably right. Treatment center. Try waste treatment center. This place is a cesspool.
Great line.
Another word I don't think I've ever heard. They're off boffing the staff, men and women. What the hell is boffing? Like,
I think it's a TV appropriate word for fucking.
Sure. Why boffing though? You know? My absolute favorite line, one of the best Casey lines in the world. I didn't write down the setup, but Olivia's like, you're not even gonna let me throw you a life jacket if you keep whatever. And she says, I'm a big girl, I know how to swim. Which I love. Like, that's just one of the most badass lines. And like stupid. Like, it's stupid. But I'm a big girl, I know how to swim is
great line.
Door, yes.
Thank you, Daryl, coming in from the UK. It seems boffing.
Hey, the guy was not British though, was he?
No, but
okay. Boffing. Okay. Sure.
Thank you.
Finally,
Thanks
forget.
For correcting that.
Yes, sorry. I keep tripping over you.
No,
one sorry ass white boy. I also liked.
Alexa in the chat has one. The judge's line, this is not a Chinese restaurant. You can't choose from column B when you don't like column A.
Cafeteria Catholic, this is not a Chinese restaurant. Same vibes.
So good. Thanks, everybody. Good. Look at this teamwork on the best lines today. So, fun facts. I have fun facts for everybody because it happened to time perfectly well. At the end of August, there was an article that came out about Melissa Joan Hart. And it seemed perfectly timed for us to do this episode. It seems that Melissa Joan Hart almost got fired from Sabrina the Teenage Witch back when her Maxim cover came out because the headline for the Maxim cover was hold on. I got to find that. I don't remember what it was. The line was so good. Anyway, I'll find it in a second. She got fired because in her contract with Disney, she was not allowed to play Sabrina the Teenage Witch naked. That was like a weird line in her contract that she could never play the character naked. And so she was on the cover of Maxim, and the headline, headline that it said was Sabrina, your favorite witch without a stitch. So and she was in her underwear and the whole thing, she's not naked in the magazine at all. But because she did this photo shoot and they labeled it as her in character, right? It was Sabrina, your favorite witch without a stitch.
That is such a stretch.
She almost got fired because the magazine's headline.
That's unhinged. That's such a stretch. Come on.
I mean, she obviously didn't get fired, so they realized.
Yeah, I just think that's wild.
But how hilarious that because she had no say in that, right? Like, she agreed to do the photo shoot. For anyone who doesn't know how these things work, she doesn't have a say in the headline.
Yeah. Wow.
Usually the writer doesn't even have a say in the headline. It's the editor's choice.
Yeah.
Wow. So that was a fun fact that I thought I would share with everyone for this episode because it just came out August 23rd this year.
Yep.
This news. So we don't have any reviews on iTunes. No new reviews. For those who don't know, we love getting reviews on iTunes. If you like us, you can give us 5 stars. If you don't like us, you can give us 4 stars. Other stars are broken. If you like us, let us know what we're doing well. We love reading those on the air. And if you don't like us, if you give us 4 stars, please let us know how we can improve. Please let us know what we could do better. And maybe we will.
Try.
Meh, maybe. But it's time for shower thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
So this is our new segment for our friends who listen to us in the shower. Hi, friends in the shower. I feel like I get shy when we talk to people in the shower.
You feel shyer.
Thank you.
Confident. Just kidding.
What?
I get more confident.
You do get more confident. Joining you in the shower. I was gonna save the Sabrina news for the shower, but I didn't. So
listen. You're under the water. Don't get scared though, because you're a big girl and you know how to swim.
Nice.
Okay?
Nicely done.
You are not gonna drown in the shower or bath, depending on which. Depending on, maybe we like have a little special where we talk about baths every once in a while. I'm not really a bath girly personally. It doesn't relax me, although I don't have a really nice tub. So maybe if I had a really nice tub, I would like it more. But I feel like I can't really get my hair washed in the bath. I don't know. I'm a shower girly to my core, I will say.
I don't like a bath. I have a weird issue with the concept of sitting in the bath.
Sure.
I don't like my naked body sitting on the bath.
The water temperature is very finicky in a bath too, because like you need it to like the perfect temperature. You get in, it's probably scalding you a little, and then it gets cold so fast, and you have to keep running the hot to make it a lot of upkeep. It's just work.
I prefer a hot tub, which I know you do too.
I love hot tub.
I'll tell you this. Last week I read 9 books, and every single one, because this author is very formulaic, every single one included at least one bath scene.
Well, she knows what she can do well.
She can't. She knows what she liked, and she did it in all 9 books. Anyway, not the point. Where were we? Shower thoughts. Oh, while you're in the shower, I guess this is the right time to ask. Back to our previous question. How many times? How many times in the shower?
I hypothetically don't do it in the shower.
Oh shit. Tari, get the fuck out of the chat. No.
Learning a lot about it, Tari. Answer the question, Tari.
Nope, do not answer the question. All right, where were we? That was shower thoughts. Thanks, everybody.
Amazing.
Oh, fuck. All right. It's time for the segment that we always forget about. What did we learn?
I learned so much about sex addiction.
Oh, okay.
Like, just in general. And, like, the fact that you can use certain things as religious debates and, like, that goes against her First Amendment right, all of this stuff. I don't know. The law is so interesting. My sister's going to law school, so I'm sure she would find that interesting too. But it's just wild, like how you can use the law and twist it, which is kind of the whole point of the law. And that's not just in this episode, but it is fascinating how you can interpret it and use it in different ways, I feel.
All right. I like that one. I learned that the kid who played Shane, Kyle Gallner, was in Scream, the 2022 version.
Yep.
So not the most recent one. The one before that.
Yes.
So the 5th one, Scream 5.
Yes.
'Cause I did not realize that was that same kid.
Yeah, it is indeed.
So that is what I learned, was that guy, when he has different facial hair, is a different person.
Indeed.
All right, so it is time to announce what the schedule is for our episodes going forward. I have no pretty graphic this week, but this information will become available and will be in the description, I guess, of the next episode. So Next week on September 10th, we'll be doing Doubt. That
Great.
is season. Oh, I know this. Doubt. Hold on, I got you. Season 6, episode 8. That is a very fun episode, and it will be, I'm calling it the final episode of our back to school marathon. Then we will be returning September 24th to do Silence. Do I remember what that episode is? I do not.
It's like, I sure don't, but okay.
But here is why we're starting with Silence, because we asked everyone to submit theme ideas with episodes, and Alexa, who is here in our chat, Alexa suggested we do Sister Peg episodes.
Oh, nice.
So we're starting with Silence, which is the first time we meet Sister Peg on September 24th. Then we are going to do on October 1st, Chameleon, which is an episode that I know Taylor loves, whether she remembers the episode or not. I know she loves it.
I just have Karma Chameleon stuck in my head now, I have to say.
Perfect. And then on October 8th, we're going to do Pure, which is another Sister Peg episode, but is also the Martin Short episode. So very excited about that.
Amazing.
So that is our schedule for the next few weeks. As Tari says, it is Sister September. Which is
love that.
His original idea was to call it Pegtember, which to me sounded.
That's our new merch, is Pegtember.
That sounds like we're doing only pegging episodes.
Well,
if we can't do Incest September, we're not doing pegs.
Yes, we are. I love Pegtember.
Doesn't matter. We're actually only doing one in September, and then it's going to be October, but not the point.
Whatever.
Alexis' Silence is the Eric Stoltz episode. Thank you. Amazing. That's where we're going to start. But first, next week, we're doing, he says, see Pegtember.
And then it's Pegtober.
Okay. Whatever. We're starting with Doubt next week, September 10. This today has gone off the rails, as it is known to do here.
One time we've been on the rails, please.
I literally cannot.
Crickets, anyway.
Okay, Taylor.
Yes.
Until next week, when we talk about Doubt, where are you on the internet? Are you still on Twitter?
I sure am, and I will never get off. I'm on Twitter /X. At alpha_Ann, and I'm on Instagram at Taylor_Gates_.
Amazing. I am on Instagram only. I just discovered that somebody DM'd me on like a Facebook page that I have, I think a year or two ago. So my bad. Do not do that. I'm only on Instagram these days. At Yael Tygiel, that's YAELTYGIEL. You can find the official Almost Paradise after show, Paradise Found, on Electric Now. New episodes still dropping, but if you want to watch After the Arc or the official Leverage Redemption after show with me and Felicia, those are also on Electric Now. Again, we will continue to do old episodes as we support the writers and actors strike, because the studios should pay them what they're fucking worth. Until next week when we do Doubt, we'll see you next time. Bye.